Sorry, we're closed.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back. Episode 57 of Sorry We're Closed, hosted by yours truly, Mr. Patrick James Light. And as every Thursday goes, we talk a little business, we talk about a little sports, and possibly a little baseball, all of these types of things. And today, we had something break in the news this morning, and it involved Barstool, which you guys know that I'm involved with. On the baseball side, I just help Jared out and hubs and do some content with them as far as the podcasts and things like that. So with that, I've met a bunch of people in the company. And let me just bring you up to speed if you haven't seen this already. The Barstool Sports CEO, Erika Nardini, who I know a lot of people think that she was hired as a token CEO, which is why her podcast is called Token CEO, because everyone throws shade over at Dave Portnoy, thinking that he is this guy, this misogynist, a sexist, racist, all these different things. Dave's had the whole kitchen sink sent at one time or another, and Erika Nardini they thought was hired just to kind of put there as as a trophy, saying that, hey, listen, we hired a female exec. We're not sexist, but it was kind of like almost like a meaningless position or a meaningless hire. Obviously, that's not true. Erika Nardini has been there for a long time. Barstool has grown an outstanding amount since she's been put into place. She's obviously a very smart woman, a very powerful woman. She's great at what she does on top of everything. And on top of that, I actually watched the Dave Portnoy press. He did an emergency press conference, as Dave always does. And in the emergency press conference, Dave talked about how his CFO and CRO are both females as well. So, I never thought Dave, I personally have never met Dave in person. I have not met Erika in person. All I have done is worked with a lot of the employees there, or drank with a lot of the employees there, which happens quite frequently. But I never, Dave has said some things throughout his life that maybe I wouldn't have said as a PR guy, as a PC guy, as a politically correct person. Maybe I would not have said. But Dave, and the interesting part of Dave, and so why so many people can relate to the guy, is because he's not concerned about being PC. He's going to say what's on his mind, and a lot of it, sometimes it's a little borderline, but a lot of times it's just like what everyone else is thinking, just too afraid to say. And I've always related to that because, especially in baseball, you have this notion that you can't talk about politics, you can't talk about religion, which I don't really want to talk about anyway. But there's certain things you just don't touch and you don't say. And even though it's like, really, like I remember we were going after a 1920s Christmas song by Dean Martin once, or Bing Crosby, and it was "Baby It's Cold Outside." I was like, really? That is what it seemed like a friendly interaction on the song, but all of a sudden now we're talking like this is ridiculous, and John Legend's making a song that says in it "Your body, your choice," like all of these different things, and it's like I feel like the movement of becoming more inclusive and all of those things, their time is spent better elsewhere than a 1920s Christmas song. When it really, I don't think that hits home with a lot of people. So, I've always, in most situations, have erred on the side of Dave Portnoy. I think Dave is good at what he does. I think he's a media genius. And I think that a lot of the stuff he does is just on that borderline. We're going to have a lot of people agree with you and a lot of people don't agree with you. And I've spoke about this on my podcast in the past, where it talks about social media and social media marketing and how you kind of a lot of times to garner a lot of attention, whether you agree with what you're saying or not, which is the whole premise of media now. It's not so much about agreeing with what you say. It's more so about getting clicks, right? Getting views. And in order to get the max amount of views, you typically got to pick a side, because 50% of the people are going to agree with you and the other 50% are going to hate you so much that they're going to interact with what you're doing. And boom, you have an absolute explosion, because now people aren't following you because maybe they love your content or by this. They're following you because they feel personally attacked, because they have the same viewpoints as the guy saying it, in this case, Dave. And so now Dave has grown exponentially. Barstool Sports was a gambling site, and he this past year interviewed the president, regardless of who the president was. He's still interviewing the president of the free world. That's an amazing accomplishment, and I think that Dave is only going to get bigger and bigger. Erika Nardini, back to what the story is about. Erika Nardini is a big supporter of the NWHL, which I have to admit that I did not know existed up until this afternoon. I didn't know that there was a women's hockey league, but there is, and apparently she's a huge supporter of it and wants to own a team. All of these different types of things, right? So, with that being said, apparently the NWHL has now tried to distance itself from Erika and from Barstool. People, I guess the supporters of the NWHL did not like that some of these players were going on Erika's podcast and kind of being buddy-buddy with the Barstool Sports CEO, this Barstool company that is viewed upon so poorly in their circles or in the NWHL fan base that they're now trying to distance themselves. The ownership even came out and tweeted, I don't have the tweet in front of me here, but the ownership even came out and tweeted about saying how we never sent a rep to Barstool Sports, and we can only control what the players do on their own time so much. They've done this on their own time. This has not been something that was a partnership with the NWHL, and implying that the NWHL doesn't want to be a part of Barstool Sports, doesn't want to be a part of this type of process or this type of company, this media company, because of its viewpoint or because of the way the fans view this company. Now, as on a business level, I completely understand if your fan base does not like a particular company, you don't associate yourself with that type of company. In this respect, though, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to do this, I don't think. I think that Erika Nardini is a very powerful woman, a very influential woman, and a very influential person. She's a part of a media company that is one of the biggest media companies in the world as far as bringing awareness to certain industries and things like that. You see Dave Portnoy go and do a pizza review, and that pizza company, that pizza place, flourishes no matter what score they get. It flourishes for so much time. I know I have a pizza place here in Hoboken that's across the street from my bar that has their shirts of the name of the restaurant on the back. It shows Dave Portnoy's score for the pizza. It's extremely influential business, and even I've seen it in my own work on an even smaller scale with the baseball guys and all of that. That when I interact with those guys and when I do things with the Barstool community, I have some negative feedback, but most of it's positive, and a lot of the people start coming to my page and start seeing what I do and all of that. So from an NWHL perspective, I don't know the business. I don't know what's going on in the NWHL. I don't know the balance sheet, the profit loss statements. I don't know any of those things. So I don't know how well the business is going. However, I would imagine that a company like Barstool coming along and helping them and bringing more attention to them could only be a positive thing. And your fan base now might not love Barstool Sports, and I think that is misdirected, but they might not love Barstool Sports, but you're trying to grow your fan base. You don't know where that fan base takes you. You don't know, a lot of people in sports itself love Barstool Sports. I was hard to find a guy in baseball that didn't like Barstool. I know they have football guys, they have hockey guys, they have, a lot, they encompass pretty much all sports. I know they've had some beef with football players, but they pretty much encompass all sports. And to think that a huge sports media company wouldn't be a positive influence, not only be a positive influence, but on the top of that, they would be be able to bring you a clientele that might overwhelm your current fan base from a business perspective. I might turn into that. I might, talk about, I might not partner with them in the beginning, but maybe partner with them in the back end and kind of talk to them about how I want to do things and where I want to go. And as Barstool continues to get more and more positive recognition from helping small businesses and what have you to, this is a good partnership for the NWHL. I don't think it would be a bad one. And even if you lost every fan you have right now, I think that in the long run, you're net positive. Being able to do work with a company like Barstool. And again, everyone has their own views on Barstool. I think a lot of it, I always try to get some research in before I make any decisions. Again, I won't speak to the type of person Dave Portnoy is. I don't know him, but I know the type of people he employs, and I've yet to meet a bad guy over there, or a bad girl, a bad woman. They're all such good people, and people that I've enjoyed to hang out with. I mean, I've enjoyed so much to hang out that I've tried to make Green Rock their stomping grounds, because I've had so much fun and become such good friends with a lot of these guys and these girls that it shows if he's hiring these people, he's got to be okay. He can't be that bad, guys. And I'm sure, and I know, and not one person has ever said a bad word about Erika Nardini, I promise you. So the whole thing just never felt right to me. I know you get some clips of Dave back in the day, or even Dave now, saying things that people are like, "Oh, are you kidding me?" But I mean, who hasn't said something that would be like, "Well, maybe I shouldn't have said that," right? And things are constantly changing, especially now, in inclusion and things that we're doing in the LGBTQ community, and all of these things that are changing. Things have changed a lot in my own lifetime. I'm 29, I'm relatively young, and things have changed drastically since 1991 until now, and they're ever evolving. And it's hard to keep up with them. Something I might have said back in 2012. I'm nervous about. I've been a PC guy my whole life, and I don't know if something I tweeted back in 2013 that might be offensive now. I doubt it, but you never know, because things evolve so much that something could have been completely fine then is a huge no now. The comparison I always talk about is the show The Office, and I've mentioned it on this pod before, that the show The Office, they got jokes in there that under no circumstances would be allowed today. Under no circumstances. They got very, very racy, very, very iffy jokes on certain things, but the show was an absolute legend of a show back in the day. It's so popular that you got Peacock, trying to get it, and they end up getting it from Netflix. Like, you have so much notoriety around that show, but if you watch and you're like, I've never seen a bad thing said about The Office on Twitter. Yeah, if I watch that show sometimes, I'm like, if that joke was not done by Michael Scott, but it was done by Dave Portnoy, it was done by Donald Trump, it was done by someone that's a kind of negative figure in the public eye, people would lose their minds. They would lose their minds over it. And I think that sometimes we're a little unfair about that. But hey, that's my 2 cents on this whole thing. I think that it is short-sighted by the NWHL to kind of distance themselves from not only Barstool Sports but Erika Nardini, and you just it's I don't think it's something that's smart, or even in the short term, I don't think it's smart to do. You're going to get now, a lot of people from Barstool just not bringing attention to that game anymore. And I know Erika put out a video saying that she would still bring attention to the game because she wants them to succeed, all of that. But even though a lot of the girls that have come on that podcast as the NWHL players kind of sat in silence and didn't really say anything or come to her defense, and knowing the type of person that she is, I think that was very telling. And I understand a little bit. Like, I understand, if I was in the clubhouse and somehow Barstool Sports came under fire from Major League Baseball, if I was a rookie, I'm not sure what I would say. I probably wouldn't say anything. I'd probably stay, but I'd probably, maybe text, Jared Carabas or Eric Hubbs, Marty Mush, maybe, and just text myself, hey, listen, I'm rooting for you. I can't really do much, but I'm rooting for you. I'm not everyone in these clubhouses feels the same way. Maybe something like that. I could lose my job as a rookie to do that. If I was a veteran and I still liked them, I probably would come out and say something. But I don't know what these ladies' positions are currently in the NWHL, and if they're fearing for their job, I can understand them not coming out and being supportive of Erika, because Erika can handle herself very easily. I understand that. But I think this is just a short-sighted business move on the NWHL's position. I think that Barstool's not nearly as bad as people think it is. As you know, I work with them extensively in baseball season and try to do as much as I can with them. Sometimes I feel like I'm begging Jared to let me do more with these guys. So you guys know my position on Barstool. I don't think they're nearly as bad as people give them credit for, and I think they actually do a lot of good. And people turn a blind eye to it just because Dave is who Dave is, And I think, there's a lot of good being brought to this world right now. A lot of the things they've done in the small business communities and just in general, as far as bringing attention to certain things, I think Dave has done a great job trying to, and I even thought he was pretty fair in the interview with Donald Trump, which was crazy. Even sometimes, like he talked about Twitter that one time on the interview, and it was just like, "Hey, Donnie, don't you regret every now and again after you tweet?" Like, and he's like, "Yes, I do." And like that's some of the things that people want to see when you're like, because Donald Trump tweeted, you guys all know, tweeted some ridiculous things, and I found myself a lot of times wondering, did he regret that? He had to have regretted that, but. Listen, I think they're a fair company. I think they do a lot of good for this world, and I think they will only do more and more good things for this world. So I'm on board. I'm on the Barstool train, and I hope that Erika is able to do what she wants to do, whether it is stay with the NWHL as far as supporting them. I know Dave mentioned starting his own NWHL and throwing them out of business, which I would be terrified if I was the NWHL and he tried to do that. But I think Erika got, and again, this is coming from someone who doesn't know Erika personally, just knows the references from people that I trust. I think she came under unfair scrutiny today, as I think that Barstool often does. And I think that I hope whatever direction this goes, I hope that people realize that and at least give Erika a chance to see what she can do and what she can help, because she's a very powerful woman and she's only going to get more and more powerful. Even whether she stays with Barstool or not, she's on another level. So we'll see what happens in the coming days, in the coming weeks, and I guess the coming years. But I don't think this was a smart move by the NWHL. All right, guys, I appreciate you listening. Always a short one on Thursday. So I enjoy some of these times talking to myself or talking to the camera in front of me. Stay tuned. We got another guest coming in on Monday, as we always do. And I hope you guys have a tremendous weekend. And stay safe, enjoy, and have a great time. All right, see you guys. Thank you so much for listening to the Sorry We're Closed podcast. Go subscribe to our email chain over at thepatlight.com and follow us on all social media. Until next time, guys, I'll see you at the bar.
Sorry, we're closed.